Bronny is #1 on my list.
What do you need to do in your career before you can hang it up?
I need to be on the floor with my boy. I got to be on the floor with Bronny.
Will we see that year of Bronny and LeBron playing together, you think?
Oh, yeah, it's going to happen.
My sense is that the Suns' interest in Bronny James is more for him and him as a player.
Of course.
And they are considering him at 22. The Suns' interest in Bronny James is more for Bronny James.
Gabe, I really think we're in trouble. Do you really think this is going to happen?
It does seem to be trending that way. The only other thing I can think of is...
I mean, that could be a possibility, but then I'm thinking, like, what prospect do we like that we don't want the Lakers to take, right? Like, there's no news about that whatsoever. I'm with you. This is more than likely probably looking like it could happen, knowing who our GM is, knowing what the owner wants to do, knowing what our playoff window and win now window looks like, knowing about the Fizdale move that just happened. I can't believe I'm saying this looks like this might actually for real happen. And we got to talk about Bronny as a prospect. We got to talk about him as a player, and we have to talk about the possibility of how he's going to fit on the Suns team now with this news coming out.
Before we talk about that, I want to address the common belief amongst Suns fans and some media members that LeBron and Clutch could very well be simply using the Suns for leverage, nothing else. That LeBron doesn't really have interest in joining the Suns. This is simply a let's feed the Suns this information so that the Lakers have some heat on the back of their necks come draft night. And the Suns are just buying into it, getting fooled, getting their hopes up, thinking, oh, we're really going to get him, like Charlie going after the football and having it pulled out at the last minute. I think if you gave LeBron James truth serum and you asked him, do you have any interest in swapping sides going from the Lakers to the Suns? It's very easy for me to imagine him seeing that as a better vehicle to get another title. Honestly, you've got Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, and they just badly need a facilitator, which you can still do at this age. Or do you want to stick it around with the glass man AD, no offense, and Austin Reeves? I know they have other players, but you get my point. I don't think it's as cut and dry as he's just using the Suns. Why the hell would he not want to actually follow through and go to Phoenix? I think both options are very viable for him. It's win-win for LeBron. He gets his son to play with him in LA, or he gets to go front run on a little bit stronger front running roster. Also with his son.
Not to mention the rumor that just came out today that we saw on Bleacher Report that now the 76ers are apparently in the mix too. So I'm with you. I don't think it's just him using the Suns. I think he's looking at who can take Bronny that I can join that will be a good fit, a good team, players that I want to play with. I think that's also a possibility, but man, I'm kind of with you. I really do think that he's really trying to push the Lakers into making this move and making it happen so him and his son can play in LA. But I also think that the Suns are a good backup plan for him. I think the 76ers as well with Embiid. I do think that that's a possibility too. But tell me, what do you like about Bronny? What do you not like about Bronny? And, you know, all that stuff. I know we talked briefly before we recorded this video. The one thing that you really honed in on was the size.
The style that Bronny is likely going to play in the NBA would fit so much better if he was 6'6", 6'5", smallest, honestly. He's a connective piece. He's not a primary ball handler. He's not the initiator of the offense. However, he is obviously, if you've watched him, a very good passer. That's one of the traits that he got from his father, clear as day. He makes great decisions. He's super unselfish. He's a talented passer. But I remember you mentioned this when we were talking. You did not like the fact that his ball handling is just simply not good enough to be a primary ball handler. That's the same problem that Devin Booker's run into the majority of his career. So you've got a 6'1" without shoes, has to be a point guard sized player, not running point guard. And yes, his three-point shot is beautiful. It's easily replicable. It should, in theory, work out that he shoots mid or upper 30s in the pros. But he didn't do that in college. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I understand that we underestimated how good he is. But for me, if LeBron James isn't attached to that 22nd pick, my better wisdom is telling me there have to be better options. But if LeBron is attached to it, I think I would feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, the one thing that did stick out to me was his shooting and the range in which he can shoot. Now, the majority of the highlights that we saw were in high school, not the ones from college. He did, I think they said he only shot about upper 20s, lower 30s from the three-point stripe in college. There is the thought, and I'm kind of with this, that, hey, his freshman year got derailed. He did have the cardiac issue. He did have to, sit out for a bit during the preseason. And it's tough as a freshman to come back to the team in the middle of the season, right? So there's always that. He was trying to figure out where to fit in, how to fit in to get in on this offense and whatnot. So there's always that. And I tend to also lean that way. Like, hey, he didn't have the best freshman season. He did have a few derailments. There's always that. The thought is, and from what we're reading, is that James Jones likes what he can do. He likes that he's a connective piece. He likes the athleticism, which I do as well. We like the defense as well. We like his ability to pass, all that stuff. And like you said, I think you mentioned we already have Josh Okogie. Why do we need him? I just think that he would be a better shooter than Josh Okogie, more athletic, all that stuff, all the positives you like. But once again, like you said, you like it better at a 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", all that stuff. But regardless, I think he makes up for it with his athleticism. I think the belief is that James Jones kind of sees him as a more athletic TJ McConnell. I think he believes that he could develop the primary ball handling skills to at least be able to run a bit of an offense. I mentioned Drew Holiday. I feel like that would be a comp for them. That's what they hope he develops into, is a Drew Holiday type player. And I think that's possible. But I think that's the line of thinking for James Jones. That if we get him, with the whole, we'll take him regardless if LeBron comes or not, I think that's what they're thinking, is he'll become that type of player eventually. But I'm with you, man. Like, if you don't get LeBron James, I just feel like another piece that you could develop quickly for this team is their way to go. A Filipowski, a Tyler Smith, a Carlton Carrington, things like that, or players like those that I feel would fit in a lot better with this team and develop a lot faster. But once again, this is James Jones. We talked about the connection. I just feel like he is talking himself into this because he knows LeBron. He likes Bronny. He thinks LeBron will develop into a better player. And part of me watching the tape thinks he can. I just feel like with our playoff window, you getting him and not getting LeBron is a miss.
I forgot to mention the fact, and you did for me, about his defense being so good. That's another positive. He could prove to be a good point of attack defender, which is something the Suns do not have and could use. He's got better handles and better finishing skills at the rim than Okogie, so I don't mean to cast him in a Okogie light. It fits when you consider they're both smaller defenders that aren't point guards, but height-wise probably ought to be.
Let me just add this. I think with the team as constructed, if we were just to keep the team with the way it is now, we don't trade Nurk, we don't trade anybody, everybody comes back, minus a few other players here and there, depending on if Gordon takes the player option, or same with Damian Lee, right? Like, minus that, you bring back largely the same team for the most part. I think he fits in. And in his passing ability from the wing, his passing ability in a fast break, I think would fit perfectly with the way this team is constructed. He will find Durant, he will find Booker, he will find Beal, he will find Nurk in the right spots. There's always that. So I think in the context of the team, he would fit. But once again, you're going to have to develop the other aspects of his game. And then once again, if you don't get LeBron, like, what are we doing? But we have to talk about this because this is in the news. Let me add this caveat, just as a selfish reason. I would like for us to do it just to have eyes on the Suns again. I will add that.
I think you're going to have eyes on the Suns as long as Kevin Durant is on the team. They might fall into a little bit more obscurity if they start to dwindle in star power. But yeah, you're right. It would be insane. I'm thinking like Tebow mania, but for a different reason, just that level of people paying attention. But I will say, if you are in the camp that believes that the Suns don't need a point guard, this move actually makes sense for you. Tell us what you guys think in the comments. Are you warming up to the idea of Bronny with or without LeBron James in addition? We'll see you guys soon for the next live stream this weekend. Thank you for hanging out. See you guys soon.